Oh my God. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. We're here for WCS Winter. Hope you had a wonderful, wonderful night. I know I did. I was just sitting here waiting, and you know what? I couldn't think of anything better to do but to wait for today's StarCraft games, because that's how excited I am. My name is Fear Dragon. I am joined here by Zombie Grub here at the desk. How did you sleep, Zombie Grub?
I slept all right, I guess.
All right. Of course, guys, if you're not familiar, WCS Winter, really awesome event. It's the first WCS premier event of the year. Now, of course, if you aren't familiar with the format, we had 32 players manage to qualify for this event. 16 players made it to this particular round as we move into day 2 of the round of 16. And, of course, 8 players are going to be moving on to the next round, which will be the round robin. So 2 players making out of each one of these groups today. We have 4 players who managed to qualify for today's particular group. Any thoughts on the format for the, I think, what is it now, the 8th time, 9th time?
6th time.
6th time? Okay.
There's 4 days last week, 2 days today.
That's true, yeah. But of course, we did have 8 days of the first group stage, and then we got 4 more days of this group stage. And of course, all these players are going to be playing for a decent amount of prize money as well. $60,000 per region. That's $60K for Europe, $60K for Americas, $12,000 to first place, $675 to all the players who got knocked out last week, and actually $975 for all the players who get knocked out today or just anytime this week. So still a decent amount of money on the line for even the players that don't manage to make it to the next round.
Yeah, exactly. Very well thought out process, format, and distribution.
Big fan of it. And of course, let's talk about today's players, because I know that's what a lot of people are waiting for. And this group is one of the really cool groups for Europe, because first of all, it is the only group that we have with any Terran players in there. So I'm sure all the Terran players are tuning in today. But second of all, it's just a really solid overall group. I think there's a lot of question marks on who can make it out.
Yeah, it's I think people have their best guesses, and it's going to be the bigger names, which is still Lambo and Uthermal. But I really feel like Hateme's going to have some trouble here, but the anyone else I feel like is arguable that they can get out first or second.
Yeah.
But Hateme, I mean, he did win his round of 32 group off of ZvZ. Maybe it's just particularly good for him, but it's like, it's also particularly good for Lambo, so.
Yeah, as we go into our first match, like you're saying, Lambo versus Hateme, this is a tough matchup for Hateme, but he, like you said, made it out of his group off of Zerg versus Zerg. Let's see if Lambo is going to be prepared for what Hateme has to dish out. The ZvZ meta has definitely changed a bit. We've been seeing a lot of the Nice Worm stuff.
Yeah, from Hateme actually. So where, yesterday we were constantly asking, are these Zergs going to update to every other Zerg strategy? And not really, but Hateme was one of the guys doing it. So I expect to see at least once or twice here versus Lambo.
Okay, as we get started, our first map is going to be Kairos Junction to start things off for today. Of course, reminder that we also have the Americas group happening later on today with some pretty awesome players. I think it's Masa, Firefly, Coffee, and Probe, which should be fun.
Yeah, that one's also, I think, we discussed this on my stream, it's actually a lot of question marks for the NA group. But this one's also, this Europe group right here is also going to be really tough. We had a surprise upset yesterday, so that proved that anything can happen anyways. And I'm looking forward to this ZvZ plus TVT group. Just lots of TVZs, hopefully everywhere. And, well, especially, obviously, the losers and winners are guaranteed to be TVZs, so that's perfect.
Indeed. Well, guys, we are going to be starting up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, top of the red Zerg player. His name is Hateme.
In the bottom right, as the blue Zerg for Clash, it is Lambo.
Super solid Zerg player who had a great run last year as he started to really break out. I mean, Lambo was such a funny guy to watch last year because I feel like it was more than a year of just hype around him from every pro player you talk to. Half the pro players would just be like, yeah, Lambo's really good. Lambo's really good. But he wouldn't get the results. But then finally, he actually started getting them toward the end of last year, like midway through the year. So
yeah,
a lot of eyes on him this year to see whether or not he can actually continue forward with those results. As he set a lot of expectations really high.
He did, and he was very self-assured. Montreal, for instance, he thought he was the one that could beat Cyril, and he got damn close to doing it, so he wasn't wrong. which, you know, puts him up very well for ZvZ, but as you were mentioning, the meta has changed, at least slightly for some people, and if Hateme is going to be the one to use it, abuse it, Nidus Worm strategies of any type, then Lambo's going to have to be on guard. I'm not sure if Lambo does the Nidus Worm stuff. I don't remember his group right now, but
yeah.
I feel like he's the one that have to be like maybe catching up to Hateme. There's so many Nidus Worms in that group with Hateme.
That is so true. That was just a Nidus Worm day, and I know Nate and I were really enjoying that. Again, we'll have to see if that actually does move into that point. As ZvZ for Europe, a lot of the time we saw this a lot yesterday and just all of the first group stage whenever we saw the ZvZs. The Europeans really just like skipping straight to the roaches. They really don't like to stick around on Ling Baneling too long. Very occasionally we'll start to see a bit more pressure there, but Europeans really like that +1 missile attack, that roach warren pretty quickly, fast lair, all that good stuff.
Yeah, overall, I think we see that opening more in Europe, but there are so many Zergs with so many different styles, and luckily ZvZ is at this point where it can be played with multiple different styles that I don't think between even like these two guys, like it's going to be a lot of just boring roach games.
Yeah.
In fact, we already see that they're both going for third hatcheries, so the roach wars will at least be pushed off a little bit. We might see someone go for more aggression with the Ling Baneling.
Yeah, and as you say that, we do see Baneling Nest coming down for both these players, so they're definitely being respectful of each other's ability to be aggressive or potentially preparing for their own aggression, like you said. Do you feel like, I know Lambo is a player that has not only streamed a lot, but he's also released a lot of educational guides. He's shown his knowledge, straight up demonstrated his knowledge of Zerg versus Zerg and a lot of the other matchups really, really well. Is there anything that you feel like Hateme would be better off doing, playing defensive, offensive, particular styles, or anything?
Not really. Lambo's had to deal with it all, and I mean, he just, as he was talking about his stream, he just has insight to everything that ever like hits him, you know, and he'll talk about exactly what he did wrong and what he did right. So I don't think there's anything that Hateme can do to like trick this guy, or Lambo's admitted many weaknesses.
Yeah.
That Hateme's like, oh, I watched that stream when he's like, I suck versus roaches. Like, nah, it's never happened. So Hateme's just going to have to basically elevate his play to a higher degree than what we saw in that ZvZ group that he made out of, right, versus sort of in Zanster. Because that was close. That was not easy 2-0-2-0 for him, ZvZ. He did struggle against those Zergs, and in fact, versus sort of, you could even argue he wasn't supposed to win. Whereas Lambo, I think you have to give him this I already called him self-assured, and he certainly is. Certainly in this matchup versus this player.
I do want to note really quickly that we did have some earlier gas geysers taken for Lambo, and I think that Hateme got some Zerglings in. He saw one of the gas geysers in the low ground, but he didn't quite see the second one as it was building. So I don't know if Hateme has a perfect read on this, but you can definitely see, just compared to Hateme, those gas geysers are a good bit earlier on as he's mining from all three of them, and Hateme is still just sitting on one for now.
Yeah, he's he got that faster +1 missile, which I was actually a little surprised that Lambo didn't immediately start. He did seem to prioritize getting the Roach Warren a little bit faster, but he's roughly getting into the same thing. I wondered if Lambo was going to do something tricky, since he started the +1 literally as the Lings on a scout, but nah, he's continuing with it.
But 10 more workers on the way for Hateme. He is on a mild worker lead, and there we finally see the gas geysers taken.
Yeah, all 6 of them, though. Like, with 5 at a time.
I guess you got to play some catch-up if you have been on one gas geyser for an extra 2 minutes past your opponent.
Very fast 4th base as well, assuming it's going to be going into a later stage of the game. I mean, I'm kind of expecting Hateme to play into some Spire a little bit later on, but Lambo could be setting up for a very powerful attack with +1 in Roach speed. He's already at almost 60 workers. Ditto for Hateme. He's at
4th base. Yeah, we end up seeing Lambo poking forward with those few Lings. It looks like there's a Baneling there now, so he will be able to push that back and keep his 4th base alive, but it gets scouted very quickly.
It's something that the Overlord also would have been hopefully seen the drone. And you kind of do match your opponent's expansion process in this type of game. So we do see Lambo readying his own, but he doesn't have to. As I said, he could just be planning a very strong attack, something that Hateme it has to be at least a little on guard for, but doesn't mean that it's going to be any easier to hold off. I mean, you're going to be investing into further upgrades. You're going to be investing into this, saving this 4th base, so another position that you have to defend. And it's the perfect opportunity for Lambo to get some damage done.
Yep, he's moved across the map as his own +1 weapons finishes on up. Hateme, of course, does have his own lair, but Roach speed is going to be a good bit further behind from his opponent. So getting into position with 4 bases to defend, that is a lot of surface area to cover. The Lings may try and draw some of the Roaches out of position, but Hateme looks like he does have his Roaches situated in the right position to catch Lambo's attack.
Now he's down by like 10 army supply, not even at this point. The defender's advantage, he should be fine, but we'll see how the concave goes. Maybe a couple better corrosive vials will come down from Lambo.
Lings at the same time are attacking in the 3rd base, and it looks like Lambo is winning out in a lot of this fight. The corrosive vials, like you said, really making a difference. He even focus fires down the Ravagers of Hateme on the back line, snipes those off. The reinforcements come in, like you said, really saving the day there. But the 3rd base, a lot of drones have actually started going down here for Hateme, really evening it up.
Yeah, I think he's depending on his queen, maybe like only a couple of Roaches to deal with that. So 6 drones go down, evening up the drone supply. Remember, Lambo does not have that 4th base on the way. It looks like Hateme canceled his +1 Carapace and started +2 missile when he realized that he was going to hold here. It was a close hold, but as I said, defender's advantage was bound to kick in and give Hateme a little bit of a boost. But I don't know about engaging in the middle of the map.
Yeah, this gets a little bit over aggressive, I guess, right? The droning is actually starting up behind this for Lambo, so it seems like he's also starting to feel that this is not necessarily going to break Hateme. The defending Roaches keep coming in, and he knows that he got a bunch of drone kills. But it is, like you said, I guess, about that 4th base, which finally does come down for Lambo. He's finally going to be playing some catch-up there.
Yeah, and Hateme can finally start using his 4th base again, which was only temporarily used, so... he'll want to get that drone count back up a little bit over that 60 eventually. And he's investing into these upgrades much faster, so he's still getting that +1 Carapace faster.
And we see Lambo going for that old, I say old school style, but I only say that just because we haven't really seen a lot of this in the round of 32 as much as we used to. Burrowed Roaches and Tunneling Claws, really, really good for a lot of that run-by harassment, trying to put the pressure on. I really feel like it was only Cyril or something that we actually ended up seeing doing almost any of this last round.
Yeah, they both choose the Tunneling Claws path. No Spire swap or attempt to dive towards Lurkers, which if the game goes on for, let's say, 4 more minutes, then I think we will see someone try and get into Lurkers. But Tunneling Claws is such a nasty thing to deal with. You need to keep more of your units at home to defend against what they're sending out, so it can cause an imbalance later on when there's a big old fight in the middle of the map. So it can be very scary, and it is going to be Lambo first initiating the harassment.
Yeah, Lambo also the first player to hit that maxed out point. Hateme getting a little bit supply blocked, but also still you can see he doesn't actually even have the resources to fully max out just yet. Gonna take a little bit longer. So if Lambo is able to hit a nice time here where he is able to maybe snipe off a few more of these overlords, continue to supply block Hateme, and then also use the Burrowed Roaches in the right way, he really might be able to take an advantage in this game.
I don't know if he noticed the graphical upgrade. He has sight on the Roaches, and well, he doesn't have an Overseer. That's Lambo's.
That's going to be a little bit problematic, but he's preventing Lambo from moving down this ramp. The Burrowed Roaches are moving their way into the natural expansion at the same time.
Yeah, he noticed. He's building Overseers now. He splits a section of his Roaches and he realized, like, hey, where'd those ones go that I was scouting with an Overlord? And it seems like Defender's Advantage kicking in, upgrades kicking in, Hateme will be fine. It looks like seriously, the Tunneling Claws Roaches aren't doing very much.
Yeah, they've killed off 3 drones, and I think that some of the ones in the main base managed to survive. The ones on the 3rd base have not unburrowed yet. And both of these players just bypassing each other's army with the burrowed Roaches. But the 4th base is where the majority of Lambo's counterattacking Roaches are.
Yeah, he unfortunately Hateme missed how large of a section of Roaches was missing. He sent his own Roaches, but also they can't. I mean, weirdly enough, they can't scout each other despite both being burrowed.
Yeah.
And that is going to result in a big snipe on the 4th base, as well as 10 drones going down. Lambo taking the economic lead, which he's had for a little while, ever since his push killed those drones at the 3rd.
Burrowed Roaches from Hateme moving into the natural expansion of Lambo, sniping off. Not a whole lot, though. They are focused on a lot of the Roaches there. There's an Overseer chasing those guys down, so they should be seeing the end of their life soon. Hateme has seized a little bit more map control, but oh man, he's still unable to establish that 4th base, and we see Burrowed Roaches for Lambo still being annoying and can snipe off the drone that's trying to become a 4th.
Oh, that was not a cancel. That is not a cancel. Hateme is starting to lose grasp on his bases. You know, initially Tunneling Claw's defense was very good, but quickly spiraled out of control. Using his own burrow to save his drones is a very good idea. Even a queen can be saved with that, but Hateme's now trying to get up the stack defense to make it easier. Lambo's already done the damage, and he should be very happy with this.
Yeah, the Spire from Hateme is interesting to me, just because he's in a situation where he is losing out on economy. He knows he's losing out on economy,
Ooh.
and I wonder what exactly the Spire. Well, okay, that's interesting. I thought I said Lambo actually would start up a Spire earlier, and I thought he canceled it or something, but okay. We end up seeing a situation where both these players are going to go to Aspire, but Hateme just has a worse economy to actually produce mutas or anything with.
They are at even gas bank, which is obviously the limiter, so it could be interesting. I don't know how willing they're going to be to go into a muta versus muta war. That would be a very odd change of pace. And Lambo, as you see, already slapped down a Hydralisk Den, so.
Carapace upgrade also finishing up, or getting close to finishing up over here for Lambo. That is the one thing he's sort of lacking right now compared to Hateme. Gonna end up losing one of the Evo Chambers. Doesn't lose the one that was researching plus one Carapace though, and that is gonna finish up in time.
Yeah, that's something that Hateme could have easily sniped. He tried to go into the main base.
Oh my god, these roaches, they're derping so hard.
Yeah, he tried to cause more havoc, you know, increase the amount of time here. He decides to tunneling claws, but you know what? It's about this damage over here. 14 drones go down. Hatchery not going to go down, but what about this one?
Yeah, this base actually has 0 defenses whatsoever, and of course because his roaches are also at the 3rd base of Lambo, he would see if there was any army coming his way. So snipes off that base, the roaches at the 3rd base killing a lot of workers, and Lambo down to just 33 now. He's making a lot of Hydras, he's still cleaning up some of the roaches in the main base. Lambo is going to really be relying on his superior army supply for a little bit, but even the mutas are starting to pop out here for Hateme.
He did scout that Spire with some Tunneling Claws roaches, that's why he decided not to go into his own mutas, but rather into Hydras, getting those upgrades. His army will eventually be better. The mutas will do a great job cleaning up the overlords in the middle of the map, though, if, you know, Lambo can't attack. But Lambo's actually already attacking. He's got a decent number of Hydras. Hateme's mutas will not look that good up against this army type.
No, this is going to be really tough. The mutas could maybe, if the Hydras are picked off fast enough, they can start focusing down the Ravagers. Or hey, most of the Hydras are on the north side. Looks like a few do finally move down to the south side to help out. But we end up seeing that Lambo just has superior army supply. This is going to be a very tough fight for Hateme to actually make a defense happen with.
Yeah, he's not even using a portion of his army, right? The mutas aren't really helping. They do take out some reinforcements, and that's probably the best thing they can do. But this army on the front lines is just, it's so much better than what Hateme has. Sometimes if the Hydras are caught a little off guard by a mass roach army, numbers will win through, I suppose. But this is a basically maxed out Lambo. With equal upgrades, and defense against the mutas will eventually come through.
Yeah, I like that he's been able to supply block Lambo a little bit, so that does prevent some more of those reinforcements from coming across the map. But again, it's like you said, Lambo is killing everything. Hateme is momentarily annoying Lambo with this army.
I mean, he's threatening a base race, and that is probably the best option for him, especially since he still has the Spire up and running. But he'd have to have an extreme number of mutas to actually take on what Lambo has in Hydras, even though he's killed a good number of them on the reinforcement.
Yeah, absolutely. We have seen the mutas getting in on top of some of those Ravagers. Finally, the Hydras are here, though, so the mutas have to back off. Good control there from Hateme, not to overcommit for too long. Now that all of the hatcheries have been taken out for Hateme, is it just down to the extractors?
It's, I think it is.
He has 10 workers, and he doesn't have enough for a hatchery.
Spire goes down. Evolution Chamber is still kicking, but it is down very close to having 3 extractors. Meanwhile, Lambo still has this hatchery and this hatchery alive. He's chased down most of the ground army. 10 mutas still live, but that's not going to beat 31 Hydras. Yeah, I mean, maybe if he had more buildings, I could believe in this idea that he could use Tunneling Clawed Roaches and snipe off all the Overseers of his opponent and then move around the map. But unfortunately, I just don't know that he has enough buildings to actually pull something like that off right now. Yeah, there's the final fight, and it's not going to go well. Hateme doesn't want to take it. Yeah. GG. Lambo takes the game, but man, what a scrappy game. What a super scrappy game. Yeah, that was not like an easy peasy win there for Lambo. Hateme was matching him in many regards. Even when Lambo started to get damage done with his Tunneling Claws, and it looked like it might be you know, winding down for Hateme, he got the same in return. It was just the tech choice, really, that I think screwed him over. And I didn't get the check, I really should have, though. But I don't think Hateme realized that Lambo was, like, what tech Lambo was going to go into. Oh, the Hydra Den? Yeah. I think he might have seen the Spire, perhaps, because I was down for a little while, but I don't know if he missed the Hydra list. Yeah, I mean, the Spire even finished, so if Yeah.
if Hateme had spotted that out, you would definitely be thinking like, oh, that's going to be a potential. Eventually, the mutas were still able to get some damage done. And I think what was really cool about that game to me is that it wasn't just the fact that Hateme turned it into a base trade that got a little bit weird and a little momentarily probably caused Lambo a little bit of stress there, but it was the fact that he was keeping up with Lambo for a lot of the rest of the game. It wasn't just like Lambo got ahead and he was just keeping this lead the whole game and then Hateme turned into a base trade to maybe try and recover. No, Hateme was doing a great job and he had advantages throughout that game and was going that back and forth. So really, really promising for our young up-and-comer.
Yeah, I mean, Lambo's still showing just how darn good he is by,
Yes.
you know, eventually winning out. The experience was there, the scouting was there, the decision-making to react to the scout right, not just, you know, choosing something and being like, I'm going to make it work no matter what. It was all why we think Lambo is, you know, one of the competitive, you know, anti-Serral Zergs,
Yeah.
along with some others. So he's proven it. You know, there's maybe a little bit of question mark for a lot of these guys with the off-season, but Lambo's proven that he's still dominant in this WCS.
Definitely. His burrowed roach play in that last game was super on point. He was able to really pull Hateme apart in a lot of ways there, and that's where he started gaining the big advantage that eventually turned into the win, it seemed like. But here we go. We move into Cyber Forest for game number 2. Remember, this is just the first match of the day. We got a lot more awesome StarCraft head your way, regardless of who wins this one.
I think Hateme's really going to make some fans, though. Keeping toe-to-toe with Lambo is impressive. Speaking of which, in the top left, as the blue Zerg up 1, it is Lambo.
And in the bottom right, he tells you that you should hate him, but I'm starting to love him. He is a red Zerg player. It's Hateme. So as much as we can compliment and say, you know, Hateme did a great job in that last game, he was keeping up with Lambo. It's kind of what, going back to what you were saying. Ultimately, he did still lose the game. Lambo still showed how good he is, and there was a point where Hateme did start falling apart to the burrow to roach tactics. So I really want to see what is Hateme going to try and do to adjust for that. Is he going to try and just play it out the same way and say like, okay, if we get into that situation again, I just need to handle it better? Do you switch it up and try and get a little bit more aggressive this game? What's Hateme's plan?
I feel like it's not a bad plan to do the exact same thing and then just a bit more over preparation for the tunneling
More
claws.
overseers, at least.
Well,
yeah.
yeah.
You see the roaches with tunneling claws.
It was great that he saw the graphical upgrade before they actually hit, right? He was responding to it before they actually got started, and that's fantastic. That's, you know, that's the first way to defend against it. But then he might have thought that he had it defended because he caught both those, and then, well, that's not really the truth. Tunneling claws, roaches, it feels like the banshees. Like eventually they just get damage done, and you have to be either perfect macro-wise or you have to do your own shenanigans, which he tried doing and which eventually also worked out for him to a degree. It's just that he was in a position with 4 bases faster, the strong economy, to get those stack defenses up and actually play a better defensive game. But with that said, you know, Lambo could be like, oh, this isn't working so much, then transfer over another thing.
Yeah.
Right?
I also really like what you brought up in the last game as well of why some of those burrowed roach tactics are so difficult to deal with, and it had to come down to the 4th base snipe and why that was difficult. It was because he just misread how many roaches would maybe moving over to that 4th base, because it's not just about, oh, there's 2 or 3 roaches there with burrow. It was 10, 15 roaches enough to snipe a hatchery, and being able to identify how many roaches to leave at each one of those bases on the defensive, where to position your army, can be extremely difficult, especially given how good of a job we saw Lambo doing at sniping off all the overlords on the map with his Ravagers.
Yeah, I think it's very good, though, that Hateme got that fast overlord speed, faster than Lambo did, and he was trying to avoid getting his overlord sniped.
Yeah.
Eventually it did get supply blocked, eventually he did lose sight of 1 or 2 avenues of attack, but that was a almost, again, perfect response to what could be tunneling claws, which is, you know, the almost being very key there. So we'll see how Hateme decides to play it out as they both are going into Ling Baneling. Once again, we have difference of 3rd hatchery positions on this map.
Yeah, the 3rd hatchery position for Hateme, definitely a little bit further back. It's, I guess, in some ways a little bit more defensive. Lambo taking the more offensive or the more forward one. It just means that their 3rd bases are closer to each other. So if this does go into an aggressive game, there's not going to be a lot of time between each other for those reinforcements to get to your opponent's side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, third base to third base, Lambo would have to break down rocks, really, right? So it's not like the quickest way, but this this map is such a weird, like, defender's not advantage, because if you try and defend here, you're actually the one on the low
Offender's
ground.
advantage.
Unfenders.
No, not offenders?
Offender's advantage? I guess that is the way you would say it.
The
non-defenders.
offensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Offender. But it makes him sound really, really bad.
It makes him sound like a BMer or something.
Yeah, it's not great. Anyways, so it can be kind of weird, and I actually wonder if we'll see more, you know, interesting choices around the third bases for all the races.
We're already seeing something that I find kind of interesting whenever I see it. The +1 Carapace upgrade alongside the Ro16. And this always makes me wonder, does this mean the Zerg player is still going to go into a lot of Roaches and they're using the +1 Carapace because it'll help those Roaches survive a little bit longer? Or are they really thinking about adding on a ton of Lings and Banelings now?
So what we saw, I guess, like there was a very popular all-in for like a month where you would go for faster +1 than this, I'm pretty sure, like pretty fast, like almost like you were committing to the Ling Baneling phase, right? And then you would go into Roaches with +1 melee, or missile, sorry, and then you'd have, you know, 1/1 Roach attack. But this is a little bit later, so I do wonder if he's gonna commit on this.
Real okay, the last Baneling on the far left there for Lambo, not needing to necessarily detonate over there, but still gets all of Hateme's Banelings. And that does leave the situation with Hateme having 0 Zerglings on the map, whereas Lambo has 14 and is making a bunch of Roaches to get aggressive with.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, when he has Ling fodder with +1 Carapace, and this is also, well, hopefully hitting before +1 missile, which it's actually very close in upgrades. Then your Lings are actually excellent fodder for a Roach attack, which is exactly what Lambo is setting up for here. He's already getting 9 drones. He's going for the Queen, but it's more about what's happening behind this, something that Hateme is going to now realize with this Overlord.
Yep, and this is so important. Remember, Lambo is sitting, even though he's killed 10 workers, he's still sitting down about 8 or so, so he needs to get this kind of damage done. He's killing off, it looks like, a few more things. More Spine Crawlers are actually going down, so that's part of the reason why that drone count goes down even further. But +1 weapons is about to finish up here for Hateme. That's going to be a bit more useful to help negate some of that Carapace upgrade.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's still so many Roaches. Doubling the army supply right now. The Spine Crawler is being done. Some Banelings could get some amazing pop-offs. That's what Hateme's hoping for.
Oh my god, Hateme has a 4th base going up right now. Does he need those extra minerals for something?
Well, actually, he's gas-starved right now, so it's funnily enough fine, but not really. Like, he should have been a little more paranoid of some type of early attack here. Had maybe a bit better preparation. He is trying desperately to hold on, but now his drone count's going to start going down.
Ooh, I like the fact that Hateme was able to send a few Lings on the other side of the map to get some damage, and at the same time, he's been able to kill 5 workers so far, making Lambo a little bit more all-in. But does he have enough to defend over here? That is still yet to be seen, but he's starting to rally more and more units. The 3rd base is definitely looking vulnerable, but interestingly enough, he has a 4th base, so if he loses his 3rd, maybe it's not the end of the world, but it's certainly not going to be great. If
he loses his 3rd, you got to imagine the 4th is right behind it.
Yeah.
So, it's not like a situation where you can just lift a command center. But it looks like he's not even going to be able to hold his natural, and that will be the real dagger in the heart here.
Spine Crawlers unburrowed at the worst possible time, unfortunately. And we're going to start to see the units going down. GG gets called, Hateme drops out 0-2, and Lambo moving on to that winner's match.
Yeah. I think what was really great about Lambo's rise last year was that he showed he could play the macro game especially well, but also was not shy about throwing out all-ins, new versions of all-ins, and that's what we saw him do just now to get the quick, easy 2-0.
Yep. Especially given how close the first game ended up being, I think, compared to what a lot of people maybe would have expected of Hateme versus Lambo. I really like that he was able to just kind of close it out, like you said, a little bit more cleanly and easily, and not really, I guess, create too many heart palpitations for himself. Yeah. But that does, again, mean that Lambo moves on to the winner's match. Hateme's not out of it just yet, but he is likely going to have to, actually guaranteed to play versus one of the Terran players now in the lower bracket of either Euthermal or Hero Marine. And that is going to be our next match. Do you have any predictions on that one?
It's actually super hard to predict that one. You have the defensive Terran versus the offensive Terran. Either
the
one
offender
can win.
Terran.
Yes, the offender. I think we have to avoid using that word.
Probably not. They're both quite nice. But again, guys, that is going to be our next match, Euthermal versus Hero Marine. Following that up is going to be that lower bracket match of Hateme versus the loser. And then, of course, we're going to be seeing the winner match. But we'll see who's moving up to the winner match, who's moving down to the lower match in that Terran versus Terran.